is up, you guys? It's J-DAWG here. Welcome back to another video. Today, I'm going to be ranking all the Friday the 13th films. Yes, I happen to love the Jason Voorhees films. And as you can see, the lighting that you see, you can obviously see it through the reflection of my glasses. It's coming from my ring light. Do you happen to like the lighting of it? Please let me know down in the comments below. Anyways, I'm going to be ranking all the Jason Voorhees films. Only the Jason Voorhees solo films. I am going to be skipping the Freddy vs. Jason film. Because, one, I know it's considered a Jason Voorhees film, but it's still a crossover. So, it's also a Nightmare on Elm Street film as well. And I haven't seen Freddy vs. Jason because I feel like I need to watch all the Freddy Krueger movies before watching it. So I'll be sure to save that movie for another episode of movies I've never seen. But anyway, before we get right into the video, please make sure you smash the like button, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and be sure to hit the bell notification for when I upload, you do not miss out. Without further ado, let's get right into the video. We're going to start at the bottom of the ladder and climb our way up to the top. So starting off the worst movie of all, we all know it sucks, Jason X. At first, I thought it was going to be pretty interesting to see how Jason interacts with this whole sci-fi themed horror movie. I thought it was going to be pretty good, pretty interesting to watch. I was wrong. This is literally the #1 worst movie to ever be created. It's like they took an old sci-fi movie script that was scrapped, add tweaks to it, throw in references of Camp Crystal Lake, and then toss Jason Voorhees and called it Jason X. I think that's how they did it. They just took an old scrapped sci-fi movie script and just tossed in Jason and called it Jason X. Like, that is literally the worst money-hungry movie I've ever seen. I wish to never watch it again. And don't tell me in the comments that Jason X is your favorite movie, because it's not. We all know that. Alright, enough of that. We're going to start off with the second worst. Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday. Why do you gotta make it so satanic? Like, why do you gotta reference demonic-like things? This is literally another money-hungry movie. Money talks. That's how it is. I wish to never see that again, as well. Oh boy. Like, since when did Jason have other family members? When did he all of a sudden have family members? Like, come on now. Like, the movie doesn't even make sense. And moving on to the next film. This is the least worst. This is the last bad film. It's the least worst. A lot of people are gonna say it's underrated. That movie is Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning. Now, I don't want to hate this movie too much. I just didn't like it, you know. I respect the idea. I get what they were trying to do. I respect the idea of having a random person like Roy Burns to pretend to be Jason Voorhees, you know. I kind of respect that idea. But the motive for it is just... no. In fact, you could obviously tell he didn't go insane. He just read history about Pamela Voorhees and Jason and was like, oh, if they can do it, then I can do it. I'm gonna go slash people. You know, it doesn't make any sense. That guy that was killed with an axe in the movie, that was Roy Burns' son. That's like, and the worst part, Roy didn't even come to his son. Like, what's the point of avenging your son if you never even told him about it? When were you going to tell him about it? Like, it just didn't make sense. Although I do have the feeling to watch Part 5 again. I don't know. I have the feeling of watching part 5 again. But like I said, it's the least worst. If you happen to say that Friday the 13th part 5 is your favorite, I respect you for it. You know, I just didn't like the idea of it. You know, the original plan was to have Tommy Jarvis from Friday the 13th part 4, the final chapter, to be the next Jason copycat killer. You know, but it didn't work out so well, which was why Jason himself was brought back. Yeah, it was going to be the start of a new Friday the 13th series. It was pretty much a reboot, apparently. And moving on to the next film. Friday the 13th, The New Blood. I don't hate the movie. I think it's a solid film. I like the idea of a girl with telekinesis. I think it's pretty cool to see her fight against Jason with her own power. You know, I think it's a pretty creative. You know, I like the idea of it. And moving on, the next film, Jason Takes Manhattan. I like this film better than The New Blood. I mean, I think, in my opinion, it's perfect. Like, New York, him hunting people down in New York, that can't be any more perfect. Like, that is so perfect enough for a chase scene. A chase scene. And what does he do? He walks.
No big deal. Living in the city, no big deal. You gotta have a heart made of U.S. steel. If the crack don't get you, then the hookers will.
He doesn't even run. You better not say that Jason doesn't run, because if you do, you are admitting that you've never seen part 2, 3, or the final chapter. And if that's the case, click off this video, watch these 3 films, and then come back. Because Jason does run. I know that. Alright. Moving on. Friday the 13th, part 6, Jason Lives. Pretty solid film, you know. This was the comeback film, and this was Jason's comeback. And unfortunately became the film when he just started slowly walking towards his victims. Like, really? Like, what happened to him running? Make him run, man. Just because he's a zombie doesn't mean he walks. I'm willing to bet I'm willing to bet those other zombie movies and those other zombie movies that you would watch, those zombies would be running after their victims. I mean, seriously. They're obviously, those zombies in those other zombie movies, they're dumbasses, they're brainless. All they do is just walk around, eat people, spread viruses on them. But Jason, dude is an intelligent zombie, and he just walks. Like, you could have made him run again. I want him to run again. If you see this hashtag, please spread it around social media. I want to see him run. I think it's cooler. Anyway, moving on. Friday the 13th, the 2009 remake. Very solid remake. Pretty basic. I wasn't a huge fan of the opening. I didn't like the idea of how it started off with these group of people just trying to find weed to sell and smoke. Like, I thought they were the main characters, but no, they were just a bunch of Jason Voorhees' victims. I do like the idea of combining, I think it was like the first 3 films, you know, combining like at least the first 3 films. I think it also has elements of part 4 of the final chapter as well. I don't know. You know, I kind of like the idea of it, you know, doing something different with it. I like how you apply those elements from the older movies into the remake. I think it's a really solid film. But I feel like it could have done better, you know. I recommend this film. Give it a watch. Moving on. Friday the 13th, the final chapter. Very solid film. This was young Tommy Jarvis's first appearance before part 5. I actually did kind of enjoy this film. This is one of my favorites. One of my favorite Friday the 13th films. And moving on forward, Friday the 13th Part 2. I like Jason's first debut appearance, when his first killing debut. You know, this was the film when he started to kill people, and was also the first time he started to run as well. You know, my only problem is that he just runs so slow. I mean, you know those close-up shots where you see him like slowly jogging? I guess because the director might have told him to do that, so that the cameraman is able to catch up to him. I guess the actor was a fast runner. I don't know. Moving on. Friday the 13th. The first one. The part 1 where it all began with Pamela Voorhees. This is another one of my favorite movies. Part 2 is also my favorite as well. I forgot to say that. But anyway, the first one of my favorite movies. I think it's the most creative one of all. I like the idea, instead of just already bringing in Jason, you start off with the mom who's been avenging her son for years after Jason allegedly drowned. People said he survived and has been living as a hermit, which I could kind of see that, because from part 2 to 4, part 2 to 4, he was kind of more human-like, you know, more human-like. Well, part 4 was when he started looking a bit more zombie-like, but it was still human. And yet, he somehow, you know, it's kind of crazy how, I'll just say at the end, you know. Anyway, I think it's pretty creative. I think it's really creative for that. So, nice going, Victor Miller. And last but not least, the number 1 film, I think is the best one of all. I think it's considered underrated because of the low ratings that you might have seen. Friday the 13th, Part 3. Okay, this was the film when Jason started to inherit the hockey mask. Because if you didn't know, in Part 2, he was inheriting a burlap sack mask. He was inheriting a burlap sack as a mask. Although he had like one hole, mainly because one of his other eye was lower because of his deformity he was born with. Yeah, I actually really do like Part 3 the most. You know, despite it not taking place in a campground. I don't mind it taking place in a campground, you know, as long as you're like doing it right. But, you know, it would be kind of cool when we get new Jason Voorhees movies in the future, if Victor Miller and what's that other guy's name? I forgot the director's name, but that other director is the one who has the rights to the grown-up Jason Voorhees attire. Well, Victor Miller has the rights to the everything that involved the first film, basically. The director can't use the character Jason. He has to use a random person to dress up as Jason. He'd have to take the Part 5 path. But anyway, Part 3 is my favorite. That is definitely a film I want to watch again the most. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I ranked all the movies that I know exist. I really hope the Camp Crystal Lake series goes out well, but I really hope Victor Miller can talk things out with the director who has the other half of the Friday the 13th rights as well, so that they can both bring back the grown-up Jason we know and love. You know, we can actually see Jason with the hockey mask, the machete, once again on the big screen, because it's been like, what, almost 14 years, about to be 15 years since we last seen Jason. And we all know that one film that came out like almost 15 years ago, the 2009 remake. Anyway, that's going to be the end of my video. If you like it, please make sure you smack the like button, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and be sure to hit the bell notification for when I upload. You do not miss out, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace out.